Today, we're in New York City. After flying around the entire world to experience low-cost and long-haul carrier Norse to London for what is an exceptionally reasonable price.
Could have done something, but now I'm left with an empty heart. No making amends, no waking up beside you.
So, who is Norse? Exclusively operating a fleet of Boeing 787s, they recently made the news for landing the first ever Dreamliner on the Antarctic. How impressive. Founded in 2021, they're a long-haul, low-cost operator, flying to plenty of worldwide destinations. So why didn't I just stick to one world with lounge access, tier points, mileage, and bag allowance? Well, the answer to that one is price. Booking some 5 months in advance, British Airways and American were priced at about £400 one way. Not exactly a deal. Venturing over to Norse's own website, we're going to have a quick check for the price one way from New York to London. And we're going to go for July because that's considered a peak period. At £154 for economy and £268 for premium, if you can travel without luggage, that's an absolute bargain. Another great reason to fly at Norse is a few days before I received an email offering an upgrade for 15% off. I thought, why not? So I put in a bid for the lowest amount, $220, and to my joy, this went through the day before. That's a total of £440 when the closest alternative for premium economy was $780. Even at the check-in, people were being offered cheap upgrades, so if you're interested, be sure to ask. Immigration and bag check were fairly long, and for those who haven't been, you can see where British Airways moved to Terminal 8. Terminal 7 is pretty small, and I walked the entire length of the shopping area in about 4 minutes. As for pricing, $8 for water seems steep, but there is a free water fountain. As for lounge access, there is a lounge, but they don't accept priority pass, and at $70 for an entry, I think I'll just find somewhere quiet. So as you can see from the video, Terminal 7 is probably not my favourite. I can kind of see why British Airways moved away. Once you've walked around once or twice, there's nothing else to do. I'm trying to prepare myself for a really long and jet-lagged wait at Gatwick. Why? Because strong tailwinds will push us across the Atlantic Ocean, reducing the journey time from 7 hours to a mere 5 hours and 30 minutes. There goes my sleep. Covering a distance of 3,467 miles. It's time to board today's flight, which was not the most organised experience. So that was a little bit chaotic because they just have loads of barriers, but it's not obvious where you stand, but somehow managed to be first on the plane. When I reached the plane, the tape was across, and someone in a high-vis jacket very rudely told me to move back. I said, sure, where? He said the same again. To which I said, well, if you tell me where to move to, this would be so much easier. Having moved 10 metres back up the jetty, 30 seconds later, the same rude individual said, you can board now.
Could have done something, but now I'm...
While economy is laid out in a 333 configuration, premium economy drops to 232. And I've made sure to pick a window seat. The seats aren't quite as modern as the new British Airways ones I flew from London Gatwick to Doha, but they are leather covered and they're really plush. For today's journey, I've perched myself in 8J. Now while this might not be the most modern seat in the world, this is probably the most generous seat in terms of space. At 43 inches in pitch and 19.5 inches in width, for comparison, BA is 38 inches in pitch and 18.5 in width. Wow, that is a truly phenomenal amount of legroom. In addition, you get a complimentary bottle of water, a Norse branded blue blanket, a slightly small but reasonable pillow, and universal plug sockets. Unlike the person in the high-vis, the cabin crew were really truly American. Friendly, warm and bubbly.
And smaller items, including handbags, laptops and duty-free items underneath the seat in front of you.
The in-flight entertainment can be found in the centre console. You have to lift the tab whilst pushing it down at the same time. 2 hands required. On the bottom you'll find the headphone port, as well as a USB-A slot for charging devices. The headphones aren't premium and they look a little bit on the cheap side, But this isn't a complaint because it helps keep those fares low. The same goes for the content. There is plenty to watch and a few gems, but you won't find many new releases as this costs the airlines more. This isn't a bad thing in my view, because if you travel a few times a month long haul, most airlines use the same new releases, so you could easily run out of things to watch. They probably could have done with thumbnails though for the TV series, as it's just one long single line of TV shows. Could take you a while to find what you want to watch. Except for the seat next to me, which remained vacant, the cabin was pretty full, and that's a lot of mouths to feed for one or two cabin crew. Things started off with a drink service, and I opted for a refreshing orange juice full of vitamins, as I've been neglecting fruit for the last few days. There's no menu, but out of the two options available, I went for the ham pasta salad and the tomato penne pasta. It tasted slightly better than it looked, but again I reminded myself this is a low cost carrier and nearly half the price of the competitors. Dessert took me back to my childhood days. They weren't bad, with this chocolate sponge and raspberry sauce, good in so many ways. After dinner, I decided to pause the film and head to the bathroom for a loo review. This is a base level Boeing 787 toilet, and even so it's much nicer, particularly with the LED lighting, than many other wide body airplanes out there. And how do I feel at this point? So we're about 1 hour 30 into the flight. Meal was pretty good, not Michelin star but very tasty and perfectly fine because you just want to get out the way and have a sleep. For an upright seat, I actually slept really well. In fact, so well that when I finally woke up, all the cabin lights were on, and it was time for breakfast. This is of course a reenactment of waking up a little confused, but you get the point. Speaking of second chances, I decided not to have a second chance with the breakfast. I love breakfast, it's possibly my favourite meal. But unfortunately, when I took my first bite of the omelette, which had a runny cheese centre, it was somewhere between room temperature and fridge cold. I decided at this point I would just get something on the ground as we were really close to landing. The breakfast was quickly forgotten, with a flurry of lights from the LEDs of the Boeing 787. How pretty is that?
It got me stone cold.
As you can imagine, after going all the way around the world, I'm pretty shattered. So it's back home for today's conclusion. So firstly, what a great product for the price. There is so much space, I was really impressed. Love the cabin, obviously having a Boeing 787 really helps. The crew was so good, it's so American, so happy, so friendly and really proactive. Loved interacting with them. The food, unfortunately, wasn't great. You can see it's low cost and obviously it's included. I thought you actually had to pay extra for it, so that was welcome, but just I know it's a one-off experience and it's just timing is important. Unfortunately being cold just really put me off and I thought I haven't got much time left, we're going to land soon, so I'll just get something on the ground from Marks and Spencer's. But I would highly recommend Norse. I really hope they do well in the winter because I know they're in slight financial difficulty, but they're such a good underdog to the legacy carriers and I really hope they do well and they continue to serve the route. Thank you so much for watching, see you in the next video.